If things aren't working out in one city for a franchise, well, sometimes that team might be tempted to go somewhere else.
Commissioner, do you have any plans to move the Vikings to LA?
LA Vikings. LA Vikings.
The occasions of failed NFL relocations have happened far more often than you might think. So today, here are 12 such occasions that you probably didn't know about. And hey, a big shout out to your prison cellmate for suggesting this idea. Houston Oilers to Jacksonville. All's well that ends well, right? Well, Jacksonville got its Jaguars as an expansion franchise in 1995. The Oilers relocated to Nashville to become the Tennessee Titans. Houston got its team back when the expansion Texans franchise was born in 2002. And all three just so happened playing the AFC South Division alongside the Indianapolis Colts. So hey, everyone's happy. But way back when, the late Oilers/Titans owner and Bud Adams actually had his eye on Duval County as a relocation for the Houston franchise. In 1987, Adams sought $115.2 million over a 10-year period from Jacksonville officials if he were to move the franchise. Adams was displeased with the Oilers' home venue, the Astrodome, and he sought renovations as well as more seating. But Texas officials gave in and offered to give the necessary funds to modernize the Astrodome, allowing the Oilers to stay in the Big H. The Oilers would play there until 1996 before relocating to Tennessee in 1997. Buffalo Bills to Seattle. In 1971, Buffalo Bills owner Ralph Wilson Jr., you guessed it, sought an up-to-date stadium for his football team. War Memorial Stadium, the Bills' first home, was outdated and needed some serious upgrades. Wilson spoke with Seattle officials and expressed keenness to move the football club there, noting that Emerald City was his desired preference. However, both Memphis and Tampa Bay had interest in landing the Bills franchise. But luckily for Bills Mafia, the city officials gave in and agreed to build a new stadium. Rich Stadium opened, now known as Highmark Stadium, and it opened its doors in 1973. Minnesota Vikings to Los Angeles. Speculation about the Vikings potentially moving ramped up in 2010 as team and state officials worked tirelessly to secure a new stadium. The roof of the outdated Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome collapsed in the 2010 season, and that was the final straw. In April of 2012, Minnesota Senator Julie Rosen admitted that they spoke to folks in LA, admitting it was an open market too. The Vikings wound up securing a deal on a new stadium that would open in the 2016 season. They would play 3 more seasons in the Metrodome before spending the 2014 and 2015 campaigns at TCF Bank Stadium. They may have lost the Lakers to Los Angeles, but not the Vikings. Tampa Bay Buccaneers to Cleveland. Art Modell broke the hearts of Cleveland when he relocated the once proud Browns franchise to Baltimore in 1996. And the franchise was rebranded as the Ravens. With Cleveland lacking a football team, several franchises threatened relocation there. Among them, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. In 1996, it was reported that talks about moving the Bucs to Cleveland were heating up. Once again, the central issue was the Bucs' desire for a new stadium. What a surprise. The Associated Press also reported that then Buccaneers owner Malcolm Glazer and city officials in Cleveland had intensified. In another case of all's well that ends well, the Bucs eventually got a new stadium, Raymond James Stadium to be exact, which opened its doors in 1997. And, well, the Cleveland Browns franchise was officially reactivated and returned to the league in 1999. Los Angeles Rams to Hartford. The first half of the 90s saw the Los Angeles Rams franchise engaged in never-ending discussions about relocation. Of course, the franchise wound up moving to St. Louis in 1995, where they'd play for 21 years before relocating to LA. Hartford, Connecticut was on the list of contenders to get the Rams. Hartford made a proposal to the organization, but the state of Connecticut simply could not compete with the appeal that St. Louis had to offer.
If the Rams were to come here, they would play in a stadium to be built in Hartford. But that could hurt Hartford's chances because the Rams would have to use the aging Yale Bowl until then.
So Hartford, home of the NHL's Hartford Whalers at the time, struck out on landing the Rams. It was extra hard to swallow when the Whalers relocated to Raleigh to become the Carolina Hurricanes. Indianapolis Colts to Los Angeles. Then Colts owner Robert Irsay became public enemy #1 in Baltimore when he relocated the historic football franchise to Indianapolis in 1984. Imagine if the Colts had to move less than 2 decades later yet again. In 2002, ESPN's Chris Mortensen reported that the Colts could have been moving to Los Angeles as early as 2003. Discussions on a new stadium with Indianapolis officials grew tense, and owner Jim Irsay was spotted in San Fernando Valley as the rumors began to escalate. And as later noted by veteran Colts reporter Bob Kravitz, Irsay became more keen on staying in Indianapolis once he saw outlines for a new stadium. Finally, after tense talks, the Colts were given the green light for a new venue, and Lucas Oil Stadium opened its doors in 2008. New England Patriots to St. Louis. In 1992, St. Louis native and businessman James Orthwain purchased the struggling New England Patriots franchise from Victor Kiam. Orthwain had one simple goal: relocate the Patriots to St. Louis and change the name to Stallions. St. Louis had just lost its NFL's Cardinals to Arizona a few years earlier. Now, most of this was already in motion, but there was one last little hiccup. Robert Kraft owned the Patriots' home venue of Foxborough Stadium, and the team's lease there wouldn't run up until 2001. Orthwain tried buying out the lease on Foxborough Stadium, but Kraft refused. Orthwain simply had no option but to sell the team to Kraft. And, well, the rest, as they say, is history. Let me say, you folks in the region owe this man a whole lot. St. Louis Cardinals to Atlanta. Before the Cardinals relocated to Phoenix and before they were rebranded as the Arizona Cardinals, they played in St. Louis. The Cardinals played in St. Louis from 1960 to 1987, but they were actually close to leaving Missouri 2 decades earlier. Owner Bill Bidwell was frustrated with the delays on the construction of Bush Memorial Stadium. On top of that, attendance was an ongoing problem within the first few years the teams moved there. Bidwell's brother, Charles, later admitted that Atlanta proposed an enticing offer about relocating the franchise. The Milwaukee Braves of Major League Baseball were about to relocate to Atlanta, so it made sense for an NFL team to go there as well. But the Bidwells eventually played nice and agreed to A, stay in St. Louis, and B, play at Bush Memorial Stadium. As for Atlanta, its current NFL team, the Falcons, joined the NFL in 1966. Seattle Seahawks to Los Angeles. Among all the threats NFL owners have made about moving a team to Los Angeles, the Seahawks were actually this close to moving.
It is with great regret that I am announcing today that the NFL franchise we purchased in 1988 is leaving Seattle.
In 1996, then Seahawks owner Ken Behring detailed plans to move the team to LA where they'd play at the Anaheim Angels venue of Angel Stadium. Behring had a strange reason for wanting to move the franchise. You see, he feared their home venue, the Kingdome, would be destroyed by an earthquake. Now, you don't have to be a genius to know that Los Angeles is, it's far more prone to earthquakes than Emerald City. Players were even going down to Los Angeles for training. However, the NFL disagreed with Behring's stance and threatened to fine him $500,000 per day until he brought his team back up north. Behring decided to do the right thing by giving up and selling the team to Seattle native and billionaire Paul Allen, whose leadership and hands-off approach helped turn the Seahawks into a top NFL franchise. Philadelphia Eagles to Phoenix. Historically speaking, the Arizona Cardinals might be America's saddest professional sports franchise. Historically speaking, the Eagles, a team you either love or hate with a passion, have been constant winners. So how funny is it to think that once upon a time, the Eagles were so close to relocating to the desert? Before Phoenix acquired the Cardinals from St. Louis in 1988, there was a push for the city to land the Eagles. Then owner Leonard Tost accumulated tens of millions of dollars in debt and eyed a move to Phoenix. Just as the Eagles seemed close to moving, then Philadelphia Mayor Wilson Goode reached a last-second agreement with Tost.
I think could solve this problem now and have an announcement the team could in fact stay in the city.
They would restructure the club's home venue of Veterans Stadium and add luxury suites to increase club revenue. In 1985, Tost sold the team to Norman Brayman and the latter's brother-in-law, Ed Leibowitz. And the fans of Philly haven't had to break a sweat about potentially losing their team ever since. Washington to Dallas. Given the intense rivalry and storied history between these two NFC East clubs, it's kind of crazy to think that Washington's NFL team once moved to Big D before the Cowboys were born. Clint Murchison Jr., who made a fortune in the oil industry, kept his eyes out for the opportunity to buy and relocate an NFL team to Dallas. Apparently, then Washington owner George Preston Marshall reached an agreement to sell the team to Murchison Jr. It was even said that Murchison Jr. had a $600,000 check ready for Marshall. There was a strange aspect, though, that broke broke the deal. Marshall was to stay on and run the team for 5 more years following the sale to Murchison Jr. The latter initially agreed, but he backed off when Marshall later stated that he wanted control for 10 years. Nonetheless, Murchison Jr.'s persistence finally paid off. The NFL awarded Dallas an expansion franchise, and the Cowboys joined the league in 1960. New England Patriots to Hartford. During the 1998 season, then Connecticut Governor John Rowland announced that the New England Patriots were relocating to Hartford.
My goal and the Patriots' goal is to open the 2002 season here in Hartford. It will happen. Failure is not an option.
Kraft was optimistic that the new downtown stadium in Hartford would be completed by 2001, but some issues set the date back to 2003. Additional concerns and obstacles came up regarding the construction of the stadium. On top of that, Rowland made the mistake of allowing the agreement with Kraft to contain out clauses. The Patriots backed out of their deal with Hartford officials and instead reached an agreement to build a new stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts, keeping the team in the old colony state after all. And the Patriots, of course, would go on to become the NFL's model franchise at the turn of the century. But what other NFL teams almost relocated? Is there any notable names that we may have missed? Let us know in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.